Hello, friends. Welcome back to Panel Chewing. We are on episode 93. Those of you who listen every week, thank you for listening. And for those of you who are new, welcome aboard. We read our stack of books each week, and we come and we talk about them. And at the end of the episode, we have our favorite, which we call the pick of the week. And we are also reading the Chris Claremont run of X-Men, which is available for free on Libby or Hoopla. So we hope that you decide to read with us. We talk 2 issues per week, a nice little pace, and not too demanding, and it's free. So that's also plus. All that said, Jarrod, how's it going?
Oh, well, thanks, Steve. How are you doing?
It's going. It's the heat of the summer, but it's also, I guess, nice time to read because it's so damn hot outside.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
I got a good batch of books this week, so I'm happy.
We'll get to all that and more here in a second. So we'll go ahead and dive into the books. I have 7 this week, and Jarrod has 3. We'll burn through mine really quickly. The first one for me is Absolute Martian Manhunter, and this book continues to be visually stunning. It's just the composition, the layouts, the amount of storytelling that the book does, and it complements the story quite well. In this issue, it focuses a lot on John Jones and his marriage and his marital problems and the fact that it's fallen apart. And this, to me, is much more interesting than the Martian stuff. And I know that the Martian stuff kind of sets this into motion, but the emotional impact of exploring John Jones's marriage and it's fallen apart and him and his partner feeling farther and farther away from each other, and the way that the artwork puts all that together is really, really good. I really enjoy this issue. It's like I said, it's much more interesting than the other stuff for me, just because of the emotional impact. So, really good series. Probably one of the better Absolute books. Well, I guess out of the ones I'm reading, it's probably the second best after Absolute Superman. But Absolute Martian Manhunter is, very, very good. So, for those of you who aren't reading it, I think it's worth giving it a try.
Yeah, has it been consistent? The same artists from the
yeah, thankfully, because cool. Definitely with this one, if they switch up artists or if they have a guest artist, you'll be able to tell very quickly just because of the distinct style and the colors and the layouts, and so it'll be very, very jarring. That's the good thing, or that's the bad thing about having such a unique art style, is that if you do switch because people need a break, it's going to be a big change. So, but as it's happening, just appreciate it while you can.
Cool. All right. For my first one today, I have Lazarus Fallen, issue number 1, by Greg Rucka and Michael Lark. This is the return of the Lazarus series after a long hiatus by these 2 guys, and this is a return to regular comic book format. They went to for the previous run of the series, they went into like an extra thick, almost, it wasn't quite trade paperback size, but it was like a 64-page issue size with the hardbound outside that's not stapled. And they did that for a short run, like maybe it was 6 issues or something like that. And they spaced it out longer between issues. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of that format for this book because they gave you almost the same amount of story, but they included a lot of back matter in there, and it was okay. But I much prefer this format, and with just as much story and artwork, and we'll get to Greg Rucka's back matter in a minute, but the story itself here picks up right where it left off before. The main character, Forever Carlisle, is the genetically designed manifestation of her family's power. And there's a lot of history there that she's involved with this family. And basically, as this issue starts off, she's on the run from her own family, and they're looking to get her back because she's very expensive. And so, of course, this world that Ruckus created is the ultimate. Corporations have taken over the world, and corporate greed rules, and they run the world. They have their own armies and everything like that. And so for this issue, I was so glad to get back into the world of Lazarus. I missed it. I was like, I really like these books. I really like what Ruckus created here, and I really, really enjoy Lark's artwork. It's very dark, photorealistic type of style, and it has some great coloring by Santiago Arcas to enhance it. And I just enjoy this artwork whenever I come across this style. It's very fine lined. It's very, like I said, photorealistic, but it doesn't go into the hyper photographic, if you know what I mean by that. It still feels natural enough so that it's like it is like drawing and not just a bunch of photographs being taken. But and so it's done really well, and I wanted very much to have this as my pick of the week because I'm just so excited about it being back in this world. But of course, another book popped up that trumped it. Bad timing.
Yeah.
but there is a certain amount of I don't know. There was a certain amount of there was something that didn't quite jive with the story as well. And it was the fact that we were introduced to a character that we haven't seen in forever. Pardon the pun, but and there's no explanation for it. I have a feeling there'll be an explanation next issue, and that's fine. But if anyone was to pick up this book and just be introduced to this world for the first time, you would be okay because he explains. There's a lot of explanation in the opening cover, inside cover, that what's going on and what went on before, and a little explanation of the world and where Forever Carlisle sits in it. And then the story goes on. You can follow it pretty well, but then all of a sudden you're thrown this curveball from the past. And if you're a new reader, you would have no idea what that means or what's going on. Being a veteran reader of this series, I figured it out. It's been a while since it's been a long time since they came out with anything, so it took me a minute to actually figure out, oh, okay, that's what that is. But a new reader is going to be a little lost. Even an older reader might be a little lost until you go back into the old issues and go, oh yeah, okay, now it makes sense. But overall, I am tickled pink that these guys are back, and they said this is going to be the last Fallen, of course, so it's going to be the last. It's the end. This run of the series, and I think they said it's going to go like 20 issues or something like that. So,
oh wow!
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So
longer than I expected. I did pick this one up, and then I was going to open it and read it. And I remember I never finished. I think I was a few issues away from finishing the last run, so I didn't want to jump in without catch. So I'll have to catch up before I jump into it. But yeah, I was excited to see that back. It's always good to see Rucka on something.
Yeah, and just a note to people who might go back and read this book for the first time. Rucka's very political, and he has a lot of political rants in the back of his books. So just warning.
Yeah. All right, so the next one up for me is Hyde Street 7 by Image Comics. And on this issue, Pranky goes on a side mission, and there's this uprising on a Heights Street. People are organizing against Pranky, and he gets a little distracted with something he wants to do, and he may or may not have made a mistake for himself. So a little surprising, because he lets his guard down, and there's an opportunity for the others on Hyde Street to maybe sabotage him. So I love this whole setup. This one seemed a little bit like a transitional issue where we're kind of shifting gears a little bit, but Hyde Street remains one of my favorite reads. It's just fun. The setup, the artwork, the writing, all of it is top notch. Solid book. And I believe there's another spinoff coming, I think this week. I forget the name of it, but I believe there's another character that is kind of in this universe. So that's exciting to hear. But I hope they don't do too many of them, because then it gets too convoluted. But yeah, it's a great series, Hyde Street. Jeff Johns knows what he's doing. He knows how to write. And Weiss is a great artist. So it's a great combination. The next one for me is In Bloom, 5 out of 5. This is the last issue for this series. And it was pretty emotional and very bloody. And they really went there, because especially with some books, there are certain situations that you think there's no way that they're gonna go there. They're not gonna go that far with it, as far as the violence and characters' decisions, and they went there. they went there. So I was surprised the way that it wrapped up, and it does come around at the end to it. I really enjoyed the finale. I wish there was more to it. I wish we had more, and I think there's a ton of more stories that can be told in this world. I really like the setup. For those of you who aren't familiar with In Bloom, it's basically a world where people are blooming, or in bloom. They bloom and they become part fungi, and their appearance changes. They are given certain abilities when this happens. Some people view it as a curse. Some people view it as a blessing. And there's also this kind of these camps, or these things that they send people to for recycling. I'll leave it at that. So it's a very dark setup, and the end was fitting. So I did enjoy the ending. It wrapped up pretty well. The next one for me is Medieval Spawn, number 3. The story is slow, but it seems like that's par for the course for Spawn books. It takes forever to do anything. It seems that this one is a setup for the 4th issue to have some fireworks. So I did enjoy that. I still love the artwork. The artwork's solid. It's very clean, and the colors are great. And with the story dragging a little bit, we keep getting reminded. I feel like I'm reading a Stephen King novel. We keep getting reminded that the kid or the boy is more than what he seems, and all these things change because of the things that the boy does later. And it's like, okay, I get it. Just get to it. You've told us this in every issue, that kind of reflecting back on this time period, how the boy changed everything, and the boy did. Just get to it, please. Just tell the story. So, but like I said, it's like, that's Spawn. So it is what it is. But I'll continue reading it for a little bit. I do enjoy the art. I think I'll give it a couple more, but just please just get to the story. It's enough. I mean, but it's okay. I'm trying not to complain. But the next one's one that we both had. So I want to kick us off with the next one.
Yeah. The Stephen King thing cracked me up. I had a question. The Hyde Street, is that part of Jeff Johns' imprint there?
I think it's related somehow, or it's in the same. I think it's in the same universe, but they haven't overlapped yet. But I think that they're leaving the door open for later, maybe doing something with that.
Oh, okay, cool. Minor Arcana, number 8, from Boom Studios by Jeff Lemire, and illustrated by Leticia Catanici. Um, once again, so this is the second issue that Letitia's done. I wonder if that's a permanent thing, or is that um a or is she just filling in for an arc? Or
I believe it's permanent, is what I've heard.
oh, really? Okay, all right. Um, no complaints. Her artwork's very good. It suits the style that Lemire had originally set up here. Um, this book, this particular issue for me, I don't know about you, but I felt it kind of felt the same as last issue. You had some personal stuff going on with her and her relationship with her best friend there, and then her mother and her relationship with her friend, and they cross over a little bit, and I was just like, okay. And then you had the looming threat, which we got that last issue too. So I'm like, okay. So this one was kind of like, all right, we need to start. We had a great time getting to know this town over the past 7 issues, and a great time getting to know the characters and getting this nice little sense of where we are and what we're doing here. But we've had a couple issues now where basically not much has changed, and I think we need to get things moving here. It's still nice, but
Completely agree with you. I really love the artwork. I think the artwork is pretty close to Lemire's artwork. That really helps, and I'm doing a great job of the art. The story, like you said, we have a hint at the end of last issue that there's this other threat. The world is going to be expanding. We're going to be including kind of, weaving in new people and new shadowy organizations or whatever. And that doesn't really move at all. We just don't really get a whole lot. I do enjoy the character work. I do enjoy the kind of the interpersonal relationships, those kind of emotional beats that they have with each other, and kind of the growth. But like you said, we've had that every issue. And while I like it, it's okay. Well, the story needs to start progressing, because I finished this issue and I thought, okay, well, from issue 1 through issue 7, what's happened? I mean, and it's more of a slower burn. You can't really compare it to other books, because I think the pace is a little slower on purpose.
Yeah.
Because it's more focused on characters, but still, I think like you said, we've explored the town, we've explored the characters. Let's move this threat. Let's move the pieces into play where we can have something else happen, because there has been a few issues where we get hints at much bigger things happening, and it kind of goes away. So
yeah,
let's start moving these other pieces on the board around a little bit. Let's mix it up a little bit, because we are starting to kind of feel a little stagnant.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's the last 2 issues ended the exact same way, with whatever the threat is, saying we're gonna have to do something about her.
Yeah, it's like, okay,
it was just like, okay, that just happened. So I just found that funny, but let's go.
Yeah.
Let's move on now.
Yeah, let's get it moving. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I still enjoy it. It's just
Absolutely.
Let's get it moving along though. Let's move. So the last one for me before we get into our picks is The Pale Knight #2. This is by Mad Cave. So last issue, our main character makes a deal with the devil, makes a deal with death to eliminate someone in return for one of his loved ones to be spared. And this issue was just our main character struggling over that decision, changing his mind, waffling, and then death reminding him, hey, I'm death and you're a nobody, so stop messing around. It's basically, it just kind of felt a little silly, because if you make a deal with the devil, a deal with death, he's not really somebody you can't really hide from him. Like, he can see you. So it just felt a little goofy to me. I don't know. The back and forth, and I'm not going to honor the deal. Oh, yes, I am. No, I'm not. Sorry. It's just it seemed kind of, I don't know. It just didn't really make sense to me. But yeah, I'm hoping that it starts to move a little bit, because this, when the way that this issue ends, I don't know where, I don't know. Yeah, it was okay. So I'm hoping that it makes sense. I'm hoping the next issue will get this moving a little bit. And it sounds like we're really impatient the way we talk about stories being moved. But I think, especially with the newer series, with a, something like this, you have to move things along, do something in the first few issues to get, to kind of, and if you're not going to move the story along, invest in the characters and really dig in deep to the characters and their motivations and their past or whatever. And just didn't, it's not doing that. So, but I'm hoping that it'll turn around.
All right.
But with all that said, it is time for Pick of the Week.
Pick of the week. And speaking of moving things along, pick of the week is one of our favorites, Assorted Crisis Events, number 4. And yeah, these guys do it again, basically. Once again, this from Image Comics, written by Dennis Camp and artwork by Eric Zawadsky. And Jordi Belair is a colorist, which is quite important in this book, as they once again give us this unbelievably touching tale of a person's life. And it's hard to explain without giving it away, because I know you haven't read it yet. But this is you can tell by the cover, it's about the guy on the cover. It's this guy who's, not only does he have a crisis event, he has crises throughout his life, midlife crises, adolescence crises, all the things that everybody goes through. But he is living it, because this is a time is having a crisis is the thing about this. His life is going by so quickly, he doesn't even know what he's doing half the time. And it's just this wonderful metaphor for how, when you get older, you look back and go, where did the time go? That's what this whole issue is. Where did the time go? And this guy is a total screw up. He doesn't know his left hand from his right. And that feeds into his sense of where did the time go, because not only is it time passing for him in this elevated sense, but you get the sense that it's also his fault because he's not keeping track of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just constant play back and forth about, well, is it because he's so out of it that he's just not realizing what's going by, or is time really being wacky on him and he really is, or he really is missing something? And I still can't tell you what the case is, because it was so well blended together and so subtly done. I'm gonna have to read it like 2 or 3 more times just to figure out how that connects. And it's just this, these guys, like I said, they do it again. The book is so much fun in that sense, and it's so interesting, and it really delves into that deep theme of treasuring your life when you are living it, not and don't miss it. Don't miss your life, because it goes by, it's gone. And I love that theme. And then this, they're not even coming out and telling you that in the book. They're just presenting the story, but that's what it's about. And so well done once again. Don't miss this series if anybody has not jumped on yet. It is a fantastic series. And this book isn't even the best of the 4, I don't think.
It's scary, huh?
But it's still better than anything else that's come out this year besides this series. So, fantastic book. can't recommend it enough. I want to go back and read the first 3 issues just because of how good they were, and this reading this issue makes me want to go back and read the other ones, even though they're completely different stories, and it's just wild stuff.
I'm so bummed I didn't pick that one up this week. I didn't even. Yeah. But I'm guessing I'll know what my pick is for next week because it's just that's how good the series is.
Yeah, it is.
So for my pick this week, now I feel there's some weeks when you have a sort of crisis events or the Sacrificers or a book like that really really gives you that emotional punch.
Yeah, makes
and then there's some weeks that you have just a fun book, and that's this week for me, which is Crush Depth, number 4 of Mad Cave. For this book, the artwork keeps getting better as the story goes along. The story's really ramping up, and they are introducing some pretty effective body horror elements now to the story. That it's really kind of the horror, and the body horror is really getting turned up to 11. And there's something in this story that tells me we're going to have a major twist at the end. And I don't know. Nobody said anything about it. I just have this feeling that something's we're going to be surprised somehow. This story, I just feel like they're setting us up for a surprise. But it's just fun book, just a fun horror story book. Now I feel like I completely missed out because I didn't just sort of crisis events. But I'm really enjoying Crush Depth. Like I said, the artwork, the colors, the way that they color shadows, and the whole setup. It's been a fun series so far. So if you're into horror, if you're into kind of the abyss or Alien or any kind of underwater horror, definitely something to check out.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I hope I'm not getting people's expectations too high when I'm praising this book, but
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's that good.
I think it's going to stand the test of time.
I think so. It is that good. So, so this week we are, for those of you who are reading X-Men along with us, this week was issues 115 and 116. And these are some, I still think the kind of the Savage Land setup is it's just kind of goofy, but it's still fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. Once again, the John Byrne's run continues, and his continues to show off his outstanding artwork. And it gets goofy because you get Sauron controlling Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
which is fun. Which really allows like Cyclops to go full blast. It just blasting the hell out of Wolverine with his eye beams, and I don't think we've seen like Cyclops like really let loose like that before. and I was just like, oh wow, man, he really he can really pack a punch when he lets loose. And
I really enjoyed the Cyclops sections.
Yeah, because like in past issues, he's always holding back. He's always cautious. He's always careful. And this time he was like, "Yeah, we can't let Wolverine just cut us to pieces here." So he really let loose on him. I enjoyed that. And then we get Kazar shows up, the Marvel Tarzan, and and he brings the story of this petrified man who's gonna who has these, I guess, godlike powers, who's gonna bring the snow back to the Savage Land, or stop the anomaly that causes the Savage Land to exist. And then we get a bunch of history between a bunch of Khazar history, a bunch of petrified man history, and we get this snowstorm cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff.
The Cyclops battle with I forget his name, with his as they were battling with his beam, and
Yes.
but that was really cool. I like that.
Yeah. That was the next issue that there's a rescue, there's that battle there with that stuff, and like the whole place is coming down around them and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's pretty wild stuff. It was a lot of action
Mm-hmm.
in number 116. A whole lot of action, actually. I think the whole issue is pretty much just this battle, constant and ongoing battle between the X-Men and this petrified man.
Mm-hmm.
And the and I thought it was kind of funny how Wolverine becomes buddies with the cat and sends him back to
Oh yeah.
one of the others. And Nightcrawler is just like, wow, how's he? He really loves that cat, man.
What do you say? I'm not afraid of you or your pussycat. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. It's funny stuff.
That's also at the end of, I believe, at the end of 116 when Storm tries to save as the building collapses, the dome collapses, tries to save him and isn't able to save him. I kind of like that she comes up disappointed or upset because she couldn't save him.
Yeah, it's yeah, you're right. It's a little refreshing to see. Like this guy was their enemy. He was trying to destroy them, and she risked her life to try to save him, and was visibly upset when that wasn't possible. And that's not something you see every day in a lot of stories, just in movies, in even harkening back to even in the 80s, there wasn't as much of that. You had your Punishers and you had your Arnold Schwarzeneggers in the movies just mowing people down, and
Yeah.
so that kind of heroism where life is the highest value at all costs, no matter your actions, was interesting.
Yeah, I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Definitely lots of battles, lots of fights, but yeah, just John Byrne's artwork is
It's so good. Like that he this was I forget when this came out. This was like 1980. Was it 1980 or 1979 or something like that?
It was right around there,
yeah. I'm having a hard time thinking of anybody's artwork during the late 70s or that would have been better than this. Maybe Neil Adams. But this was long before the era of, the image artists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Long before the McFarlanes and so on, and Jim Lee and what have you. And I think this guy is the progenitor of art being the biggest focused, which had its good and bad points in the 90s, but
yeah.
But he's man, he was good. Really good stuff. Just panel to panel, tons of every shot, just fantastic.
There was another panel that reminded me, because I know we talked last time about the last page with Sauron being kind of an iconic page.
Yeah.
And there was another panel that I think I've seen other places. But it looked familiar. Like the composition looked like we've seen this other times, that it's been an inspiration for people. But I forget what panel it was. And of course, now I can't find it.
It wouldn't surprise me, because I think a lot of this, John Byrne had a lot of those over the years.
Mhm. Yeah. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Really good. That's, even I know that these books get a little goofy, but you really don't know where they're going to go next. I guess that's the positive of kind of Savage Land, because you would have never guessed, oh, they're going to end up in Savage Land. I mean,
I
so
know.
that's why
And
it's
then,
unpredictable.
and just when you think they're getting out, they end up going to the bottom tip of South America
Yeah.
and fighting a god, and then now they're back, and
Yeah, it's just off the wall.
it's crazy.
I don't know if modern superhero comics would be able to do this now, with just be as kind of out there as this one is.
Yeah, I think if anything is coming out nowadays that's kind of like this, it's considered like retro, and it's not taken seriously as
Mhm.
a modern comic coming out. Um, and I guess, I guess, I mean, I guess you wouldn't want the industry to just repeat itself, but on the other hand, um, yeah, I wonder. I guess you couldn't help but see it as retro if a comic came out that did this nowadays. But on the other hand, we get so much other stuff recycled. So what would be the difference? I don't know.
Yeah. What if we take it too seriously now, or if it's just the era that we're in?
Yeah, and I wonder, is that going to change, or is there going to be something different coming down the pipe?
I would imagine so. I think it comes and goes in waves, but we've been on a pretty serious tone for a while. It's
Yeah,
been
I
probably
don't.
since the 90s.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the comic book industry has gotten over what Alan Moore and Frank Miller did in the 80s yet.
Mhm.
For better or worse. Maybe they should have gotten over it by now, but those guys were hugely influential, and their influence is still being seen now. It hasn't gone away.
Yeah, I know that there's books that don't take themselves seriously, and they kind of do off the wall funny stuff, but it's not often that you get a kind of this like the main groups or the main characters to be in a really goofy situation. There's other characters that they put in those situations because that's kind of what they do, but the main, like the Avengers, the X-Men, Batman, Superman, Justice League, whatever, they're usually in more serious kind of situations but I know of, they don't really do kind of off the wall stuff like that anymore.
Yeah, and usually it's done for comedic effect.
Right.
Because these X-Men issues, they're not done for comedic effect. They're not
No.
comedy. That's just a style of storytelling that was happening at the time.
Yeah.
We look back at it as nostalgic, and it seems sometimes the situation seems a little goofy to us. But at the time, that's what they were doing for comic book storytelling, and it wasn't today when they put out something that's reminiscent of this. It tends towards a comedy instead of just that natural, just the way that they did things.
Yeah. Yeah. Different time for sure.
Oh, that was our topic of the week.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, so next week we'll do 117, 118, and I will pick up Assorted Crisis Events number 4. Yeah, but there's been the second time I missed it, and pretty bummed about it. I thought it was coming out this week.
Can't wait to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. So, any other thoughts on the books this week?
I think we're good.
Okay. So, it was pretty decent reading week.
Yeah.
So, good stuff. The Pale Knight, I hope it picks up. I hope it does something. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But anyway, so Jarrod, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel and Speculative Speculation podcast and Film Joint podcast. and some other read-alongs on pagechewing.com.
There's never a shortage of read-alongs. We want to mention for those who have read Crossed, we will be doing a kind of a breakdown of the 0 through 9 Garth Ennis, Jason Burrows series in a few weeks. So if you are interested, check out our forum. And we'll also be discussing Blood Brothers Mother here in the next month or two. So some fun stuff coming up with some comics. So if you'd like to join us, check out our forum. And then if you'd like to send us a message directly, there's a link below. Just hit that and send us a message. Let us know if there's books you'd recommend, or if there's a book you'd recommend us reading after the Claremont run. We are going to be reading that for a little while, but always open to suggestions on what we can read next, put on the calendar. So until next time, I hope you have a great day and hope you find your pick of the week.
Bye-bye.